going to talk a little bit about the modification that I did to my Smittybilt 2781 air compressor. This is that 12 volt air compressor that I use in my 4Runner when I need to air down. I also take it in the truck camper to do the tires, the dually tires, and also the airbags on the truck as well. So on this modification, I did two things to this air compressor. Number one, the air hoses and the connections on the air compressor are the Japanese style. They're just a little bit different than the your standard SAE style connection. I've got a couple of different ones here. This is the standard connection, if you can see how that is, and then this is the Japan style, Japanese style. So you can see the difference. This style won't work with your standard air hoses. So I want to swap this connection out for one of these guys, and actually I'm going to use the connection that I'm going to use is actually going to be female connector, but I've got the quarter inch adapter for this quarter inch hose to thread into my standard air connection there, the female air connection. So on this modification, all I need to do is just cut the hose right here at the connector or at this fitting, the Japanese fitting, and then replace it with this one here. All right, so the main reason why I'm swapping this connection out for the female standard connector is I want to have a little bit more versatility in what I can use with it. My air chuck for my dually, and also my standard air chuck for the 4Runner, the shorter one. This is the extended one for the dualies. It's got the dual nozzles there, plus it's the extended one so I can reach back in there to get to the inside dually. But it's got the standard male connector there. And yeah, I could have swapped this out for the Japanese style female connector for this to fit into. However, I wanted to have the option of using some of my other accessories. So, my other airlines, extended hoses and things like that. And it was just a little bit more convenient for me to swap out to the female style on the hose instead of mess with this. All right, so what I'm going to do first is just cut this line. I need to pull the spring piece back. This is just a little spring, like a tension relief spring. You take that off. So I can take this and just with a pair of cutters, or you can use the utility knife, just cut it real close so you don't lose a bunch of hose, any length of your hose. Take that off. It gives you a nice clean connection or a nice clean cut. Make sure that you've got your spring tension relief there. I've got the Teflon thread seal already on there. I'll go ahead and push this guy on. Let's give it a little bit of lubrication on there. And this should fit all the way in there. If it doesn't fit real easy, you can slightly heat up this air hose with a hair dryer. Don't use a heat gun. Just use a hair dryer on like medium setting. If it doesn't go on real easy, this seems to be going on pretty easy though. You want it to fit all the way up to the end of the threaded fitting here, or the barbed fitting. Okay, so once you've got the hose pushed all the way on, you can push the tension spring all the way up over the top of that. And if you want to, you can take your hose clamp and squeeze down on that connection. I'm actually going to remove this. I don't need this extra hose clamp on there. This fitting's on there super tight with that barbed fitting. If you feel the need to have that extra security, go ahead and put your hose clamp on, tighten it down. All right, so now we can take our female standard connection and thread that on here. Like I said, we've already got this pre-coated with the Teflon seal. Just a couple of winds around the threads will do. And then we'll just give this a good snug. All right, just make sure that's good and snug. Now we can test for leaks. All right, so nice and tidy connection there. Check for leaks, no air leaks around the seals or at the hose connection there. And now I can fit my standard air chuck into the air hose that goes to the air compressor. I can now use any of my other accessories, a longer air hose, my other air chuck for the 4Runner. And another reason why I wanted to, swap out to be able to use my standard air chuck, the air nozzle that they give you with the Smittybilt, it's fine for standard tires. I've got the dually truck, so I need to be able to get into that inside dually, and you really can't do that with this. It's really difficult to get this little threaded connection on the valve stem, and the gauge is really close to that, and it doesn't really fit through the wheel, the spoke very well. And it's, of course, has the Japanese style connection on there. So I wanted to get rid of this. I don't need this. So that's gone. Due to this air compressor is change out the clamp style connections, the battery terminal clamp connections, your positive and your negative, to the Anderson style connector. And I'll go over to the truck in just a little bit and show you what I did there. But I just cut the clamp wires and as close as I could get to the end there. And then I stripped the wires back and wired in a 10 gauge Anderson positive and negative with the Anderson power pole quick connector, and shrink wrap. I soldered and then heat shrinked and then wrapped in electrical tape. So that's a good strong tight connection, watertight, and super strong. That's not coming off. It also gave me another 14 inches of power lead. So I'll put in the description below this video links to the Anderson power pole connectors and the wire. This is the 10 gauge wire. They have 30 amp connectors, they have 45 amp connectors, and then they also have the 15 amp connectors. These are actually the 45 amp connectors because this air compressor, it says on here max amp draw 45 amps. I wanted to make sure I covered my bases there as far as draw. It would probably hold the 30 amp just fine. I'll show you over at the truck, the fuse, the inline fuse that I put on the truck lead that goes out is a 30 amp lead, 30 amp fuse, automotive style. So that'll pop before anything else in the air compressor. Now the air compressor does have a built-in breaker here, so it'll trigger that as a fail-safe. But again, I'll put all the links below in the description here for this wire. This is really good stuff, good high quality connections, and I'll show you that they're waterproof as well. All right, so we're out here at the truck, and what I did on the truck here, let me pop the hood. Got this positive and negative lead coming off of the battery, one of the batteries in the truck. Got my 30 amp automotive style fuse in line on the positive side. Around my 10 gauge wire through the frame bracing in the front, and then out the grill I've got my other Anderson connector. And this has a waterproof cap on it, so you can just pull this waterproof cap off just like that. Get a little bit closer shot here. You can see, so normally this would just fit back in here with the cap on. I can pull that out around the 10 gauge wire through. Got my 30 amp fuse and the just simple positive and negative wiring out to the Anderson connector. Alright, so the cool thing about this is I've got my air compressor down on the ground there, got the modified power cord with the Anderson connector on this end. These are locking connectors. There's only one way to hook it up, black to black, red to red. Slide these right in and it locks in place. So now my air compressor is hooked up. And of course I can have the hood closed. I don't have to pop the hood to do any of this. When I'm done, just disconnect the power cord, put my waterproof connector back on, and then push it back into the grill. And that's nice and tidy, it's waterproof, and when I need to use it again, it's there. If you have any questions on the air compressor or anything else that I've done in this video, shoot me a comment below, or any questions below in the description, and I'll try to get those answered the best that I can. So hopefully this video helps you out, and we'll catch you on the next one. Later.